What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another edition of Heavy Weapon Concepts. And today we'll be discussing possibly one of our most controversial concepts yet, the Terminal Killocity. So, what makes the Terminal Killocity so controversial? Well, what if Heavy had a new weapon that helped him flank in a way that no one could see coming? And no, I don't mean by making the Heavy extra fast, a mechanic that has gotten the Heavy in a bit of trouble before in TF2 competitives past. What I mean is, what if the Heavy could jump essentially wherever he wanted? If the Heavy could see a height, he could jump to it. Well, that's basically what these mitts would offer. How so? Well, without any further ado then, let's hop right into the stats. So, starting off, while equipped, the Heavy can hold down their reload or special attack button to decrease their own gravity by up to 40% per second. At its lowest, the Heavy can actually lower his gravitational pull by up to 65%. This makes the Heavy able to make some pretty insane jumps by itself, but that's not all. Secondly, while in midair, if the Heavy also presses his secondary fire, he'll receive an aerial impulse at the exchange of 45 HP. This essentially pushes the Heavy just a little bit higher in the air as the Heavy is rising, allowing for the Heavy to get to even higher jump points than before. And lastly, as kind of a hidden stat, the lower your gravitational pull is while using these mitts, the less likely you are to take fall damage, which is pretty comforting to know considering you can get uncomfortably high with these sometimes. Now, these are the only upsides that come for this weapon. However, even so, if this was all there was to the weapon, it'd be entirely too much of an upgrade from the stock fist. So of course, with every set of upsides must come the downsides. So, starting with number 1, upon holstering these mitts, you mark yourself for death based on your current gravity, from between 2 to 6 seconds. So basically, the lower your gravity is, the longer amount of time that you'll be marked for death, and the heavier your gravity is, the less time you'll be marked for death. This isn't so bad, but can put you in some rough situations if you like to abuse the gravity like me. And secondly, the Terminal Killocity holsters 50% slower than stock, so if you're caught mid-air or at the end of your jump using these, you may really be caught with your pants down, so you'll need to plan accordingly. Now, what makes me love this concept so much is that it opens up such an endless door of flank opportunities. It's almost like having the flank ability of the Gru, but without the health drain and with even more possibilities of places to get to. For example, when I first really started using these, I immediately found some really cool spots on Upward that you couldn't normally get to as the Heavy. But upon continuing using these gloves, they also made me wonder if perhaps these gloves gave you a little too much ability to go anywhere, because I started realizing that there's some really crazy spots you could get to as the Heavy with these that I'm not sure other players would find fair. I mean, after all, Heavy is supposed to be the slowest mobile class of them all, and while this would keep the Heavy slow horizontally, his vertical mobility would boost incredibly, which I think some people might find overpowered. Because of this, I'd make one fix and one fix only, and that's it. I would take away the ability to gain aerial impulses with your secondary attack. Instead of the Heavy being able to jump even higher than lowered gravity, I would simply cut it back to the 65% lowered gravity at its peak, which although would still give the Heavy some incredible flank ability, wouldn't be quite as broken as if you gave the Heavy the aerial impulse to go with it. But aside from that, I think the mark for death and holster cons of this weapon do a great job of balancing it out by themselves, and so I think the weapon wouldn't need much else done to it aside from this. But what do you guys think? Do you think this would be a fair and balanced weapon, or do you think this would potentially make Heavy too overpowered and too sneaky of a class? Maybe even change the entire meta? Well, let me know in the comments below, but I personally think this could fit in great with the Heavy's arsenal and switch things up a bit without becoming too unfair. And if Valve ever went through with some kind of a space update, I could totally see these mitts, the Tokamak, and maybe the map bread space being added to the game. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Heavy Weapon Concepts, and until next time, this was Big Joey! Later.